Thank you for joining me here on the News Summary. I'm Reza Shatayeva. Stay with me for the latest news from Kazakhstan. Nuclear security issues were discussed in Washington, D.C. last week as the leaders of more than 50 countries and 5 international organizations met at the 4th Nuclear Security Summit. President of Kazakhstan Nursultan Nazarbayev attended the summit as well. Nuclear safety amid aggravated global conflicts and growing terrorist growth was one of the main topics of the high-level meetings, offering a unique platform for open discussion between the countries.
Kazakhstan and the United States agreed to deepen cooperation in the sphere of nuclear security. Together, the countries are building a training center which will focus on nuclear non-proliferation and combating illegal trafficking in nuclear materials. Kazakhstan, according to its peaceful policy, urges countries to think clear to solve global problems together without aggression. In Washington, the head of state was invited to the headquarters of the oldest U.S. think tank, the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. World-class experts that are working here do not favor any state. The organization has no political influence and its employees have a variety of positions and views, sometimes even the most controversial. Kazakhstan's role in this international community is highly regarded by many.
То, что сейчас господин Керри был в Москве, вели переговоры.
It is necessary to reach a consensus. Mr. Kerry visited Moscow to hold negotiations on resolving the Syrian conflict. I think the consensus on the Syrian problem is about to be reached. It is a threat for all of us today. There is no alternative but coming to the consensus on nuclear disarmament. We have come to good decisions, and now we need to implement them to ensure a reliable future. I hope that common sense will prevail.
Решения были хорошие. Теперь сейчас эти решения не выполняются, то будущее будет выглядеть очень неуверенно. Я уверен, что здравый смысл победит.
Nursultan Nazarbayev has been talking about the association's importance in solving common problems for quite some time. The president mentioned the actions taken by Kazakhstan to tackle the global tasks. For instance, the Eurasian region is a key geopolitical factor in world politics, where the interests of all global key players intersect. It is important to direct the regional processes to the right path, reducing the risk of conflict by constructive dialogue and cooperation. Therefore, the Eurasian Economic Union was created at the initiative of the President of Kazakhstan, Nursultan Nazarbayev. As the undisputed leader in the field of nuclear disarmament, Kazakhstan has every right to offer the initiatives which should make the world a better place. It was recognized by both political and international experts. Nursultan Nazarbayev said that by creating a nuclear-free zone in Central Asia, Kazakhstan calls to form the geography of sustainable peace and expand the space of 6 nuclear-free zones in Eurasia, Latin America, and Africa.
I always look forward to meeting with President Nazarbayev because he has been a real leader in this whole field, not only getting rid of nuclear weapons, but also very conscious of the danger of nuclear materials. He also, as a leader of your great country, understands the implications of nuclear testing and the damage that that's done. So he's a proponent of the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. So he's a real leader in this field, and Kazakhstan has set an example.
The Semipalatinsk nuclear test site in Kazakhstan was closed 25 years ago by the decree of President Nursultan Nazarbayev. Since then, the country has completely abandoned one of the most powerful arsenals of nuclear weapons and today continues to make a significant contribution to the global security.
За 40 лет на этом полигоне, который был открыт втайне от местного населения и народа,
Some 456 explosions have detonated in 40 years on the test site, which was opened in secrecy from the local population. There were 120 explosions in the atmosphere. Their total capacity was able to destroy 2,000 cities like Hiroshima. Radiation struck more than 3,000 square kilometers, which is the area of one of the largest countries in Europe, such as Italy. Nursultan Nazarbayev pointed out that Kazakhstan will always make an effort in the field of nuclear disarmament and nuclear non-proliferation. Organizers of the Nuclear Security Summit presented Kazakhstan a special award for hosting the Bank of LEU. It is the only country which has ever been evaluated for such services. In addition, all participants of the summit marked Kazakhstan's refusal from nuclear weapons. On the same day, U.S. President Barack Obama received Nursultan Nazarbayev and other heads of delegations. In the White House, Washington brought together representatives of more than 50 countries, including heads of state and prime ministers and ministers. 7 participants held an interactive discussion in the White House. The main topic of discussion was the strengthening of global nuclear security.
The president of Kazakhstan met with Kazakh boxer Gennady Golovkin during his working visit to the United States. Nursultan Nazarbayev congratulated the athlete on becoming the ambassador of the Expo 2017 and wished him new achievements and records.
Gennady Golovkin, in turn, thanked the head of state for his great contribution and personal attention to the development of boxing and sports in general. At a ceremony in Washington, the chairman of the Astana Expo 2017, Ahmedjad Yesimov, handed Gennady Golovkin a diploma certifying the title of the Expo 2017 Honorary Ambassador. The national company intends to promote the ideas and values of the exhibition with the help of famous compatriots. Earlier, Kazakh cosmonaut Aydin Aimbetov and captains of Astana Pro Team, cycling team Vincenzo Nibali and Fabio Aro became the ambassadors of the Expo 2017 as well.
Хочу поблагодарить за доверие, за поддержку, за внимание.
I want to thank you for your trust, support, and attention, and of course for the opportunity to tell it all to you personally. It is a great honor to represent Kazakhstan and raise our flag and dedicate my victory to Kazakhstan.
Не глядя на то, на какой-либо арене я выступаю.
Сейчас он сильно тренируется.
He trains in Los Angeles, preparing for his next battle. This morning he came here in spite of having trainings, but I told him that today's event, and especially meeting with the president, would give him a good incentive for further training. Let us wish Gennady a victory on April 23rd and in other upcoming fights.
Восполнить пропущенную сегодняшнюю тренировку.
After the visit to the U.S., the president of Kazakhstan headed to Cuba. Upon arrival, he visited the monument to Cuban national hero Jose Marti. Nursultan Nazarbayev also visited the Memorial Museum and left a note in the Book of Honorable Guests.
Armas! Presenten! Armas!
During the visit, Nursultan Nazarbayev met with Chairman of the State Council and Council of Ministers of Cuba, Raul Castro. The leaders of Kazakhstan and Cuba discussed the possibilities of bilateral cooperation. They talked about the expansion of trade and economic relations, contacts in the field of education, culture, sports, agriculture, and further policy dialogue. Nursultan Nazarbayev and Raul Castro paid particular attention to the issue of cooperation in healthcare, pharmaceuticals, and biotechnology. They noted the need to exchange experience between the Kazakh and Cuban experts in these fields. They also discussed topical issues of the international agenda. The president of Kazakhstan expressed satisfaction with the agreement reached on the support of the Cuban side of the candidacy of our country for non-permanent UN Security Council member in 2017-2018. I belong to a generation that admired the Cuban Revolution. The Comandante Fidel Castro, we sang the song Cuba My Love. Therefore, Kazakhstan has a great interest in Cuba. As you may remember, the Cuban cosmonaut flew from the Kazakh land, and I wish that we can build a strong relationship and sign the necessary agreements to place the economic and political relations at a high level. I hope talks with President Raul Castro will open up new ways in our relations. Havana is interested in the acquisition of Kazakh grain, but this is only at the level of verbal agreements. But it seems more promising to cooperate in the field of oil and gas. Prior to this, however, Havana spoke about the cooperation with the Kazakh entrepreneurs in the field of mining and energy production, oil and chemicals. Today we signed the memorandum on joint actions with the Cuban Minister of Energy of the mining industry. We are talking primarily about the oil and gas industry. It is about the exploration of oil deposits in the coastal strips of Cuba. We are talking about possible supplies of Kazakh oil to the refineries of Cuba. Cuba will participate in the exhibition Expo 2017 in Astana. Participation agreement was signed in Havana last year. The countries in the region have achieved a lot in the field of green technologies, especially in Latin America. Therefore, the country intends to bring the best achievements to the specialized exhibition.
Как и некоторые страны Латинской Америки.
Like some Latin American countries, they are seriously engaged in scientific developments in order to fill the shortage of energy which they have. In some Latin American countries, the share of renewable energy is up to 90%. This, for example, in Costa Rica. And today, during the meeting, we discussed it. The big research and development works are held in Cuba in order to increase the renewable energy sources.
В Кубе проводятся очень большие научные разработки для того, чтобы увеличить долю возобновляемых источников энергии.
The National Chamber of Entrepreneurs is working towards supporting domestic businesses. Through the export activities of the chamber, the Kazakh companies now have the opportunity to buy many of the supply goods produced in Kazakhstan.
National companies, mining companies, and government bodies regularly spend 150 billion tenge for the purchase of imported products. According to the managing director of the National Chamber of Entrepreneurs, Gennady Golovkin, the chamber identified 150 commodity items that are most often purchased abroad. At the same time, more than 100 types of goods from this list are made in Kazakhstan, and the enterprises which produce these products have problems with sales. To support domestic business, which has the potential to import substitution, the National Chamber of Entrepreneurs proposes to provide manufacturers with all possible measures of state support.
Все меры поддержки, как инвестиционные контракты.
All measures of state support, investment contracts, location of companies in the special economic zone, consideration of projects through public-private partnerships, all of these can be effectively and successfully applied for projects aimed at import substitution.
Это все, в принципе, может эффективно и успешно применяться в отношении проектов, направленных на замещение импорта.
The industries in need of import substitution were also named in the National Chamber of Entrepreneurs, such as machine building, metallurgy, chemicals, and petrochemicals. Construction materials also. The situation with light industry is also difficult. For example, the domestic production covers only 7% of school uniform market. The rest is imported.
У нас большое количество предприятий, которые могут...
We have a large number of plants that can produce the school uniform of high quality. The potential for domestic enterprises is huge, some 2.5 million students per year. A good quality school uniforms kit costs around 15-20,000 tenge. Plus, we are entering the market, which equals about 35 billion tenge.
Таким образом, мы выходим на рынок, который равняется примерно 35 миллиардам тенге.
According to Golovkin, if we continue to work on import substitution, only the school uniforms market of Kazakhstan will be saturated with domestic products by 50 to 60% already by 2020.
Also, the National Chamber of Entrepreneurs at Atomican is planning to expand the list of free services for businesses. The chamber will provide 8 types of services to entrepreneurs, including legal, accounting, and customs consultations. According to the Deputy Chairman of the National Chamber of Entrepreneurs, Shotanov, 1.6 billion tenge are allocated annually to support domestic businesses. In the past 5 years, the annual funding volume has not changed. However, the volume of services and work scope of the chamber have grown significantly. Last year, the chamber provided services to 30,000 businessmen. According to Shotanov, entrepreneurs of Almaty, Southern Kazakhstan, and Jambul regions showed the highest activity in seeking advice.
Было открыто 1,6 тысяч, то есть 1600 новых предприятий.
1,600 new enterprises were opened. 2,800 businesses have received funding in the second-tier banks. 3,600 entrepreneurs received full support of the projects. In total, entrepreneurs attracted more than 30 billion tenge for their projects. The agribusiness industry is in the highest demand, also the development of the food industry and the services sector. Even basic household services, the organization of municipal systems and greenhouses.
Услуги, там организация каких-то бытовых комплексов и так далее. Тепличное хозяйство.
3 major productions are about to start in the Aktobe region with participation of investors from the United Arab Emirates, China, and Australia. According to the governor of the region, Jibek Nazarbayev, measures have been taken to attract multinational companies in the processing sector to build the region's export capacity and have better access to the global markets. In this connection, the region is planning to implement a number of investment projects. It will produce 1 million tons of cement annually. Currently, the Chinese corporation is planning to start construction this year. The Australian company will produce potash fertilizers. The United Arab Emirates businessmen intend to invest in a plant with a production capacity of 3,000 tons of nickel per year. 30 hectares of land were allocated for construction of the necessary facilities. 1,600 jobs will be created under these projects.
Строительство завода калий удобрения.
The construction of the potassium fertilizer plant An Australian company was involved. The cost of this project amounts to 590 million euros. This will create at least 1,200 jobs. We are now discussing the final stages with the investor. We believe that the construction of the plant will begin before the end of the year. And the third, the construction of the nickel plant at the expense of the UAE investors, costing $155 million.
Это строительство никельного завода за счет средств инвесторов Объединенных Арабских Эмиратов.
Investors are also planning to build 10 plants in the industrial zone of Taldykurgan. There's already a preliminary agreement on construction of plants for processing of oilseeds, milk, and plants on manufacturing building materials, detergents, paints, and varnishes, as well as bakeries with elevators. Local authorities have pledged to launch the industrial zone this year. All the necessary engineering networks like water supply, power lines, as well as the railway line and highway will be linked to the new industrial park site. Nearly 5 billion tenge were allocated from the Republican and regional budgets for these purposes. 2,000 new jobs will be created at the first stage of developing the industrial zone.
Мы хотим в этом году абсолютно все подготовить по первой очереди.
We are planning to prepare everything for the first phase this year. Flat site with a territory of 120 hectares will be provided with electricity, water discharge, railway, and highway. There will be the same structures as the Horgos dry port. First investor came here first. The second investor was reported to come in a few days.
Сейчас доложили, что буквально на днях уже второй инвестор зайдет.
A list of financial instruments of allowed acquisitions at the expense of the assets of the single accumulative pension fund has been approved by the Kazakh government. The list is divided into foreign and national assets categories. The list includes various securities, including government and international financial institutions, and the central bank under the guarantee of real estate and assets. The pension fund is also permitted to invest in deposits, currencies, gold, and instruments of Islamic finance. In total, the list has 13 categories. Similar items are on the list of Kazakhstan's financial instruments. These are government securities and their derivatives. Gold bullion and accounts, non-government debt securities and shares, and others make up the list of 11 products. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development is strengthening partnership with Kazakhstan in public service. The representatives of the organization and of the regional hub in civil service have exchanged letters of cooperation on Monday in Astana.
There are 34 industrialized countries that are members of the OECD and many, many more that work with us. And we're trying to establish good practices. We're asking each time what works to ensure that government delivers policies, delivers results, and delivers a good environment for citizens and business. And hopefully will also help to inspire the government of Kazakhstan to improve and to advance on their own modernization.
Also, the Kazakh public administration experts have signed a memorandum of cooperation with the American Society for Public Administration. Cooperation will include training seminars, webinars, and training sessions on state administration.
Many countries far more developed in terms of its history would be very, very fortunate to take some of the lessons that are in the civil service law here in this country and apply it to their own, because the work that's been done here is very, very impressive, as is the work on the anti-corruption law, and really kind of integrating ethics and ethics motivation into the work of civil servants. There's a lot to be learned here.
The Venice Commission will examine the code of ethics of the Kazakh judges. An expert judgment will be presented in June at a plenary meeting of the Commission and the Kazakh judges. Last week, the Commission members met with the chairman of the Supreme Court of Kazakhstan. The new draft ethics code has been developed by the Union of Judges. It includes 5 chapters and 33 articles. It clearly defines the principles of conduct for judges while on duty and in everyday life. The currently effective code was adopted nearly 25 years ago.
В прошлом году были приняты значительные изменения и дополнения.
In the past year, the amendments have been made to the constitutional law of Kazakhstan. Almost all of the recommendations of the Venice Commission jointly concluded with the OSCE ODIHR have been taken into account. Today, the Supreme Judicial Council is an independent body already.
Уже является самостоятельным органом.
Первое впечатление, которое кодекс производит.
The first impression the code has is clearly the fact that it was seriously prepared. This is the result of a great work. There will be undoubtedly some items that require improvement or reformulations. Actually, this is why we are here.
Kazakhstan is developing a new educational program. The program is designed for 3 years and is aimed at introducing trilingual school education. The industry experts believe the new school reform will help the students be more prepared for the ever-growing competitiveness of the real world.
Thus, the Ministry of Education will need 7 years to ensure gradual transition of the country to a new trilingual model of education. They will start from next year. The first changes will affect secondary school students of grades 5 and 6. In 2017 to 2018, they will begin to learn the science and natural science terminology in English. A year later, students of the 7th and 8th grades will study 4 subjects in the extracurriculum activities. And only by 2021-2022, the 10th graders will begin to study 4 subjects in English.
У нас же по госстандарту по 2 часа же в неделю.
In accordance with the state's standard, we teach the English language 2 hours per week, and this is not enough, so we are at the expense of elective courses that teach our students languages so they would speak better. Starting from grade 5, students study the English language 5 times per week. And the expense of the elective courses again, they also have an opportunity to study French, German, and Chinese. We are also planning, starting from next year, to train our teachers so they would be able to teach their students history, geography, chemistry, and other subjects in English. The 67th high school in Astana is among schools which are testing the 3-language educational system. English is taught from the 1st grade, and the older the students get, the more hours they spend studying the foreign language. In addition, in parallel, they can learn German, French, and Chinese as an option. The Human Resources Department is developing teachers' staff. It increased the amount of state order for training of teachers. In addition, teachers will need to upgrade the skills and study again. The virtual online training system will be created for a quick introduction of new teaching methods. This year, 2,500 schools will be connected for this purpose to broadband internet, and the same number of schools in 2017. Also, from the next year, the 5-day academic system will be launched for the 1st graders.
Проведены в 30 школах страны.
Approbation was carried out in 30 schools across the country, and only 5 academic day system of education was approved, and today it gives positive results. This will not affect the quality of education. The government program has clearly stated that a gradual transition will be implemented. In 2016-2017, the system will be launched for the 1st graders, and later in 2017 to 2018, it will be implemented in the grades 2, 5, and 7. According to experts, this is only the beginning of the global modernization of country's educational system.
Transitioning of Kazakhstan schools to trilingual education is increasing the demand for multilingual teachers. Hence, 10 universities were selected for training of new teachers. The first alumni of the teaching program will graduate this year. In total, 50 teachers of the Kokshetau State University have studied the fundamentals of multilingual education in the world's leading universities. They are now prepared to teach mathematics, physics, computer science, chemistry, and biology in Russian, Kazakh, and English.
Future chemist Marjan Makulbek is studying in this university. After graduation, she will be able to teach in any school in English. Today's schools need teachers who speak 3 languages, and I'm sure that in the future I will always have a job. And I will be an excellent chemistry teacher who speaks the English language. Almost 5,000 teachers will be required in order to teach high school students subjects in a foreign language. These data was presented by the Education Department of the Akmola region. The teachers will need appropriate textbooks. We are pleased that many students who do not study under the multilingual program of education understand the importance of this program and the possibility of their employment in the future. They request to include them in the multilingual program. The multilingual education system was started to be implemented in local schools 14 years ago. Then, the 4 schools of the region have launched an experiment on the early studying of English. In one of them, the 7th graders are already taught algebra and biology in the foreign language, and in another special ed school for gifted children, students study 5 subjects in English. In addition, in the summer, linguistic shifts will start to operate. Various activities will be carried out there. and the future teachers of English, namely second year, third, and the final year university students, will be involved in the work.
This year, Kazakhstan is preparing to mark the 25th anniversary of its independence. A variety of activities, events, and fun flash mobs are being planned as part of the celebrations across the country. As part of one of such events, 25,000 seedlings of fruit trees will be planted in Taldykorgan to mark the 25th anniversary of independence of Kazakhstan. The first batch, which is 5,000 different varieties of apple trees, have already been planted. The citizens will be able to gather harvest next year.
The president said that if you want to plant a tree, then plant an apple, because on the one hand, it covers you from the heat, and on the second hand, it will yield harvest. We don't spend any money from the budget. This is the initiative of the people. Some people and organizations do it at their own expense.
It was not a random decision for the Taldykorgan residents to plant fruit trees. Zhetasu region is considered the birthplace of apple trees called sivers. Scientists have proved that sivers is an ancestor of at least 15,000 cultivated varieties of apple trees. Also, a campaign on planting coniferous trees such as spruces and pines was launched as part of the celebrations in Uralsk. The campaign was initiated by the students of the Mahomet Utemesov State University. They decided to decorate the alley of graduates. From now on, every subsequent graduate of the university will plant new trees on the alley.
Within this campaign, graduates jointly with the teachers and veterans of the Second World War, also veterans of the home front, took part in the planting of fir trees. We, in turn, promise that we will continue this tradition.
Some 7,000 seedlings of conifers and deciduous trees and 3,000 shrubs will be planted this year on the streets of Uralsk. This is how the city intends to maintain its status as one of the greenest cities in the country. These were the major news from Kazakhstan for the past week. Thank you for staying with me. Goodbye.